Till that in 1937, dancer Patricia Douglas was brutally assaulted at an MGM party. Instead of bartering her silence for a studio contract or cash, Douglas went public with her story and filed a landmark lawsuit. The studio covered up the crime and destroyed her life. I did post this before, but I found a better source with more info. This was an editorial Douglas helped publish. She died soon after, in November 2003. I learned about this when I was looking up the film Hail Caesar. I'm wary about Hollywood biopics. *** Hail Caesar isn't a biopic, I'm talking about biopics in general. It's about the Hollywood fixer Eddie Mannix, who oversaw MGM's problems and fixed issues for them. He was linked to several unsolved murders and the mafia. He helped cover up Douglas' assault. Hail Caesar whitewashes his crimes. Edit. Several people have told me it's meant to be a meta-satire of the golden age of Hollywood. Well, it still leaves out the darker things he did. Maybe the complexity of Hail Caesar just goes above my head? Edit. Won't link full article, it is very long. But this is the final bit. It ruined my life. It absolutely ruined my life, says Douglas. She is 86 and a great-grandmother, housebound by glaucoma, emphysema, and fear. They put me through such misery, she murmurs. It took away all my confidence. She has not spoken of her rape since the case was dismissed. Until now, not even her family knew about it. Douglas has agreed to go public again because she realizes this could be her last chance. When I die, the truth dies with me, and that means those bastards win. Her need for vindication remains as strong today as it was back then. She can still feel that freshly tilled field underfoot moments before David Ross raped her, she says, adding, and to this day I can't stomach the smell of scotch. Such sense memories come at a cost. After the dismissal of her federal case, she tells me, I went from Little Miss Innocent to a tramp. I did it to demean myself. I was worthless, a fallen woman. Douglas married 3 times in 5 years, and 2 of her husbands were exposed as bigamists. All washed up with fellas at 37, she has gone without relationships or sex ever since. I've never been in love, she states flatly. And I've never had an orgasm. I was frigid. Douglas fled Hollywood to settle first in Bakersfield, a desert town she terms hotter than hell, and later in Las Vegas, where she subsists on Social Security with a bull terrier named Magdalene. She likes to be called Patsy now, and won't even answer to Patricia. All her recollections of herself are laced with self-laceration. She says she was naive, stupid, a lousy mother, a walking zombie who glided through life. And because she never shared her deepest secret, which was also the defining event in her life, Douglas can say with confidence, there's nobody in this world who really knows me. In 1937, burying her past for self-preservation made sense. But even now, in this Oprah era of confession as catharsis, Douglas still lives under self-imposed house arrest, oblivious to her historic status. What was it I accomplished, she wonders. What's so special about my story? When I tell her what I've turned up, including corroboration from fellow Wild West party girls and an apology from the children of Clement Soth, whose perjury helped exonerate David Ross, the truth begins to dawn on Douglas. Pretty gutsy, wasn't I, she says. Before you found me, she confides during one of our many long conversations, I was getting ready to die. I'd buy less food, I wasn't planning to be around long. Now I don't want to go. Now I have something to live for, and for the first time I'm proud of myself. The lion raped, but Patricia Douglas was and still is the mouse that roared. Her heroic cry was once cruelly silenced. 66 years later, the last word is hers. The magazine published a postscript to this article in the November 2007 issue. Douglas died in November 2007-2003. I meant she died after the op-ed was published. Credit to you/Fatmanharkanen for the correction. This is a perfect example of why it is so difficult for individuals who have been abused to come forward, especially when the abuser holds some form of power. Money and influence can make many crimes disappear that the rest of us would surely do time in jail for. I'm so sick of rich and famous people using their influence to prey on vulnerable people. I feel that the punishment of Harvey Weinstein and Jeff Epstein are a start in the right direction, but we all know the roots of this problem are well established, deep and far-reaching. There is a lot of work to be done and we have only just begun. This is just one individual out of many, both male and female, who has been subject to abuse, humiliation, and harm for simply pursuing their dreams. The industry preys on young talented men and women and spits them out broken, manipulated, and misused. The entertainment industry needs to stop being a safe haven for molesters and abusers. People need to continue advocating and demanding that companies uphold human dignity and rights and admit that what we have in place currently is a criminal ring that exploits young people. That isn't good enough. Society needs to make it easier for all victims of abuse to feel safe enough to come forward and expose predators regardless of their status, wealth, or artistic contributions. We need proactive and preventative laws that penalize patterns of predatory behavior before they escalate, not settle for reactionary laws that only apply after a horrible injustice has been committed against a person. The damage is already done then, and again, that isn't good enough. A person's right to contribute to the art world should not trump another person's ability to live and work in a safe, healthy environment that values and respects human dignity. Not that anyone needs to tell people this, but oftentimes, the bad guys win. For anyone interested in this, would highly recommend the You Must Remember This podcast episode, https://www.stitcher.com/podcast/stitcher/you must remember this/e/457781115, autoplay equals true, on notorious Hollywood fixer Eddie Mannix. They protect their own. Everybody knew about Harvey Weinstein, but everyone always blamed the victims. It's a toxic culture that is somehow allowed to influence millions of people and is used often as a moral compass when it comes to politics. Thank you for posting this. It reminds me of the story of Frances Farmer, who Kurt Cobain wrote a song about. Sadly, these problems still exist today, but thankfully people are becoming more aware at least. I say this as a girl that was raped in her teens. I have such overwhelming pride and respect for this incredibly brave woman. Although I've spoken to friends and family about my experience, I didn't fight to get my rapist charged. Quite frankly, there was no evidence it would have been a he said, she said situation. The strength it must have taken Patsy to fight this even after being let down at every corner is admirable and a source of inspiration to all women and men that have had this experience. To fight your rapist in court is already more than I can fathom, but to take on such a monumental organization with so many people slandering you and saying such vile things, it makes me tear up. May her courage and memory live on. And here we are 80 years later and mouth-breathing fuckweasels are asking #MetaWomen why didn't you come forward at the time, and acting like that discredits them. This is great content for /r/TrueReddit. The whole subreddit is meant to be these kind of in-depth stories. She did the right thing. After watching the Jeffrey Epstein doc, I can say that the rich and powerful do not play by the same rules as the rest of us. Money is power and power means you're fucked. Why don't women speak up? And people wonder why women don't report assault to the police, or wait years later. The whole studio system was set up against women. Studio heads basically used their female talent stables as harems. It was expected for women to have sex in order to advance their careers, and refusing could mean never working again. All scandal, whether sexual or otherwise, was handled in-house, and there are many cases of actor deaths, overdoses, or rapes where the fixers were called before the police. Karina Longworth's new book about Howard Hughes is excellent at showing how predatory the film industry was then for anyone interested.